The Story of an Hour is a short story that revolves around a classic 19th century working class family. Kate Chopin uses irony and symbolism within this novel to portray women's desire for freedom. The protagonist, Louise Mallard, is a stereotypical housewife and her husband is a railroad worker. In the opening of the story, Louise is said to have heart trouble and that great care was taken to break to her as gently as possible the news of her husband's death. However, this heart trouble does not only refer to her medical condition, but also symbolizes her relationship with her husband. Mrs. Mallard lives in a typical 19th century family situation. She is oppressed by her husband and is not allowed any freedom or choice. When she initially hears of her husband's death, Mrs. Mallard weeps. However, Chopin notes that this is an unusual reaction, as she did not hear the story as many women have heard the same, with a paralyzed inability to accept its significance. Instead, she accepts the death of Mr. Mallard and her fate. Despite her initial sorrow, once she retreats to her room, Mrs. Mallard then begins to realize her freedom. Louise recognizes that without her husband, her life finally belongs to her. She is now free to make her own choices and live her life the way she wants to. At the end of the story, Mr. Mallard returns home, and Louise realizes that her husband is in fact alive. At the sight of him, she falls to the ground, and when the doctors come, they claim she had died of heart disease, of joy that kills. This is where Chopin's irony is evident, because Louise Mallard's death was not because of joy, but in fact caused by the pain of having to return to her old lifestyle, a life where she had to live as a subordinate to her husband and obey his commands. This novel criticizes the American dream because although the dream glorifies freedom and equality, in reality, men and women are treated differently, and women are forced to live as inferior to men.